think the British public have got far too much tolerance left for Prince Andrew with all the scandals which have happened over the years, for which many he denies, obviously. But nevertheless, headlines have been made, and unfortunately, once those headlines do get made, then that is tainted on your name quite.
It was the silence that shocked him first, a silence he had never heard before inside those walls. Not in the corridors where footmen once straightened up the moment he appeared, not in the courtyards where guards once snapped to attention, and certainly not at the gates of Windsor Castle, the place he had walked through his entire life as a prince, a duke, and a man born into unimaginable privilege. But this time, everything was different. This time, no one saluted. No one bowed. No one even pretended to look away respectfully. They simply stared. Or worse, they didn't look at all. This was the moment Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor, formerly His Royal Highness Prince Andrew, Duke of York, realized the consequences of losing a title were far more brutal than the world ever imagined. And the question that now hangs in the air is not what he lost on paper, but what he lost inside the only place that ever made him feel untouchable. Before we dive in, there's something I need to share with you. Over the past few days, thousands have watched these stories unfold, but most haven't subscribed. If you're one of them, I invite you now to join us. Subscribe to Crownverse so you never miss the next chapter in this unfolding royal history. Now let's continue. When Andrew returned to Windsor Castle for the first time since his princely title was formally removed, he expected change. He expected protocol adjustments, tighter boundaries, maybe fewer privileges. But he did not expect humiliation. He did not expect the atmosphere to turn cold. He did not expect the small symbolic reminders of his fall from grace, reminders that cut deeper than any public statement ever could. According to several royal commentators, including reports attributed to Ephraim Hardcastle, Andrew walked into Windsor believing he still belonged there, believing that despite the scandals, despite the investigations, despite the settlement that defined him in the public eye, the castle would always be home, a space insulated from the outside world. But it wasn't. Not anymore. The first sign came before he even stepped through the doors. Guards who once saluted him allegedly stood still, offering nothing more than a neutral glance. This is a claim that cannot be independently verified, but it reflects what many sources describe as a clear shift in how the former prince is regarded within his own familial institution. The next sign came the moment he passed inside. For decades, every corridor he walked through came with subtle gestures of respect, nods, bows, a slightly lowered voice, the kind of ritual deference ingrained in palace tradition for centuries. But on that day, those gestures reportedly vanished, replaced instead with an ordinary level of acknowledgement befitting not a prince, but a private citizen walking through a state property. Some reports, again unverified, even claimed that staff seemed to relish addressing him by his new name, Mr. Mountbatten-Windsor. Not Your Royal Highness, not Sir, not Prince, just Mr. Mountbatten-Windsor. For a man raised in the royal hierarchy, born into the system of status and respect, this was not just a change of name. It was a direct confrontation with reality, a reality he had spent years denying, negotiating, resisting, and in many ways refusing to accept. To understand the magnitude of this transformation, we must revisit how he arrived here. Andrew's fall from grace did not happen overnight. It began years earlier with allegations he denies, photographs he couldn't explain, and an association with Jeffrey Epstein that has haunted him relentlessly. The disastrous 2019 interview, where he claimed he could not sweat, where he expressed no regret for his connection to a convicted sex offender, where he insisted on details that the public found unconvincing. That interview sealed his fate in the eyes of millions. The palace distanced itself. Public opinion hardened, and over time, titles began to fall away like pieces of armor stripped from a defeated knight. He lost his military honors. He lost the use of His Royal Highness. He lost his role within the royal family. He lost public duties, public respect, and the last threads of his former identity. But the most shocking shift came recently when it was announced that he would no longer be known as a prince. The statement was brief, but devastating. Andrew would now be known as Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor. His lease protections at Royal Lodge would be removed. He and Sarah Ferguson would vacate the extensive estate. His title of Duke of York, bestowed on his wedding day by the Queen, was also relinquished. Even for a family known for quiet internal discipline, this was unprecedented. And for Andrew, the weight of that decision became painfully clear when he walked into Windsor Castle without a title to protect him. Reports describe a man visibly unsettled, almost disoriented as he navigated a place that once treated him like royalty, now treating him like anyone. Some insiders even claim his privilege of receiving meals delivered from the castle kitchens had been revoked, his so-called royal deliveroo. This specific detail is unverified, but it reflects a broader truth. Palace privileges are not guaranteed, and for Andrew, they seem to be evaporating quickly.
It wasn't just the physical atmosphere that had changed. It was the emotional tone. The warmth, the familiarity, a sense of belonging, gone. In their place stood boundaries, procedures, coldness, and for the first time in his life, consequences. And while Andrew is said to continue denying all allegations against him, the monarchy is moving forward with decisive, calculated distance. King Charles, burdened with the responsibility of protecting the crown's reputation, has been firm. Prince William, aware of the future he must inherit, has been even firmer. Some commentators say William has adopted a ruthless approach toward his uncle, one focused entirely on safeguarding the monarchy's image for the decades to come. These characterizations are speculative, but they match the tone of decisions that have been unfolding. Andrew's life is shrinking, physically, publicly, and symbolically. Royal Lodge is no longer guaranteed. Titles are gone. Respect is gone. Influence is gone. And the public has not softened. The palace's decision to align Andrew's surname with Mountbatten-Windsor, the family name used by descendants of Queen Elizabeth II and Prince Philip, was made in accordance with formal tradition. But even that came with debate. The Times reported that the version without the hyphen was selected per Andrew's personal wish. Yet palace insiders reportedly push for the hyphenated version to honor Queen Elizabeth's guidelines and established practice. This, too, highlights the quiet tug-of-war behind the scenes, a tug-of-war over how the world should now perceive a man once born into status and now stripped to its bare minimum. But perhaps the most astonishing revelation came from a recent book where a royal author claimed that King Charles vetoed an outlandish £32,000 request from Andrew to have spiritual Indian gurus minister to him at Royal Lodge. This claim is unverified, but it fits a broader picture painted by many observers. A palace tightening its purse strings, its patience, and its public tolerance toward the disgraced royal. A senior insider was quoted as saying, "This isn't about financial cuts. It's about value, efficiency. Sometimes less truly is more." A subtle message, but unmistakably pointed. The monarchy is pruning, eliminating excess, removing liabilities, recentering the institution around dignity, stability, and continuity. And Andrew, despite his protests, is seen as incompatible with that mission. What does that mean for him now? It means walking through Windsor Castle and hearing a name he doesn't recognize as his own. It means interacting with guards who no longer see him as someone they are obligated to honor. It means watching traditions he once commanded simply dissolve in front of him. It means moving from a position of entitlement to one of quiet displacement. But more than anything, it means facing the one truth he has resisted for years. Status can be lost. Respect can be taken away. And the institution he relied on for protection can turn into the institution that enforces consequences. Andrew's story is not over, but it has changed, irreversibly. And while he continues to deny all allegations against him, the world around him, from the palace staff to the British public, has already rendered its own verdict. He is no longer Prince Andrew. He is Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor, a man walking through a castle that no longer bows to him, a man forced to watch the system he thought he belonged to reshape itself without him, a man who once represented privilege, now learning what it means to live without it. And as he steps deeper into this new chapter, one thing is painfully clear. For the first time in his life, the ground beneath him no longer comes with a cushion, and every step forward will remind him of what has been lost and what can never be regained.